In this video, we are going to learn about how do we take given information, specifically a point in a vertex, and how can we translate it or change that into vertex form. Because in our last video, we talked all about how do we know what a graph is going to look like, or how is it going to translate based off an equation that's in vertex form. So it's probably important to know, how do we write an equation in vertex form, right? And so now this little cloud in the middle is going to be really helpful for you when you're translating all of this. I even sometimes will reflect back to this part a lot, especially how we plug that into our equation. So let's just dive into the first example. Okay, so it gives me a point, 3, 6, and then the vertex. That's what that V stands for. V is the vertex, P is the given point. So the first thing you want to do is I'm actually going to write down my vertex form. So I need f of x is equal to a times x minus h squared plus k. Now the more I write that, the more I'm going to memorize it. So like I said, off over here, that's going to be super helpful. Your given x value and your f of x, remember f of x is also y. The given point, that's how we plug it into this equation here. So if my given point is 3 and 6, so my y value is going to go in for the f of x, okay? I don't know my a value, so I'm going to write a, and then my given x value, 3, is going to go in for x. So let that sink in what I just did. So then the other point that's given to me, the vertex. So the x value of the vertex is going to be my h. So I'll put minus 2, and I'll square that. And then the given y value of my vertex will be k. So then I would put plus 4. So I would, if it were me, I would pause the video and be like, wait a minute, what did I just do? What did she just do? So now I'm going to start simplifying this. I need to figure out what a is. So I'll bring down the 6. I'm going to go ahead and simplify the 3 minus 2, which is 1, and I'll square it, okay, which is 1. And so that gives me 1a plus 4. Or I could just write 6 is equal to a plus 4. I feel like that looks just nicer, okay? So if you're like, wait, well, how did you get the 1? So this is just 1 squared, which is just 1, or just 1a. So now I'll just subtract 4 to both sides, and so I get my a value is 2. And that's what I needed to write something in vertex form. So now I'm going to say, okay, f of x is equal to my a value of 2 times x minus my given h value, which was 2, squared, and then plus my 4. So I did all that work just to find a. So now let's look at the second example. Now be really careful that sometimes they're going to flip-flop the points that they give you. So now the vertex is first and the point is second. That's really annoying, isn't it? So let's start with my vertex form equation. Sorry guys, a little technical difficulties there for a second. So I would do f of x is equal to, okay, a times x minus h squared plus k. So now, again, this is going to be a lifesaver. So x and f of x is the given point. So here's my given point. So my f of x is the y value. So this is going to be 0 is equal to a is my unknown and 2 is my given x value. Minus h, oops, hold on. We know our h value. What am I doing? Silly. Okay, so then my vertex, okay? The h is your given x value and the k is your y value. So I'm going to go my h, okay, that's the x. So my x, notice it's negative 1. So that's going to turn this to a plus 1, right? Minus a negative makes it plus. And then my k is 4, so then minus 4. So now I can go ahead and simplify. So 0 is equal to a. Now I'm just going to do this in baby steps. That's 3. Then I'll square it, so that's 9, and I like to put it in the front. That's where we put our coefficients. And if you're wondering how did this come into the front, because it's multiplying. So then 3 squared is 9, it's just 9a. So then I can go ahead and I'll add 4 to both sides. I get 4 equals 9a. Then I'll divide both sides by 9, and so, okay, I get a is equal to, we'll keep it as a fraction, is 4 9ths, because otherwise that's just 0.4 repeating. I don't want a decimal. because if I put a decimal, especially one that repeats, we lose accuracy. And so then my final equation is going to be f of x is equal to my given a value that we just calculated, and then x, okay, we're going to use plus the 1, this is from the vertex, squared minus 4. So maybe you need another example, because this is hard stuff. So if you need another example, let's do number 1 together, and then you guys can try numbers 2 and 3 on your own. So for number 1, they give me my vertex first, and then my point. And so maybe you want to copy down just really quick. Okay, so I know that the given point, so given P, that's going to be the x and the f of x. And then my vertex is going to be h and k. So my given point, so let's start with the vertex form. So f of x is equal to a times x minus h squared plus k. So now let's replace what we know. So my given point, we're working with this. The x value is going to go in for its actual x. Okay, so that'll be 3. And then the y value will be the f of x. So this will be negative 5. Then minus, then my vertex, the x value that they give me is the h, so that would be 5. Square that, and then plus 1. So now I can go ahead and simplify. So negative 5 is equal to a. Now 3 minus 5 is negative 2. And then I know negative 2 squared is 4, and I'll put that in the front. Then I'll subtract 4 to both sides, and I get negative 9 is equal to 4a. And then we'll divide by 4, and we know a is then negative 9 over 4. Which I could actually reduce that. Let's reduce that to negative 3 over 2. I like the reduced answer better. So now I have enough information to plug this all in to my vertex form. So I would have f of x is equal to negative 3 over 2, and then x minus 5 plus 1. Okay, so for number 2, let's start with our function form. F of x is equal to a times x minus h squared plus k. So maybe another strategy is, okay, the given point, this is my x and this is my f of x. And then my vertex is h and k. So now that I see it above it, now I can plug it in. So f of x is going to be 8. I don't know a. X is 4, h is 0, and k is 3. That was kind of easier. So now I'll simplify, and I get a now, and then this is 4 squared plus 3. So this is going to be 16a, plus 3. I'll subtract 3 to both sides, and I get 5 is equal to 16a. Divide by 16, and I get that a is 5 over 16. So my final answer is f of x is equal to 5 over 16 times x minus 0 squared plus 3. And you could even simplify this inside the parentheses, but we want to keep it in vertex form, so we'll actually leave it that way. So then number 3, okay, I've got my vertex. I know my vertex is h and k, the given h, and this is going to be k. So then that makes my given point here x. Why isn't it writing? Come on. Oh, sorry. So x and then f of x. So then I'll start with my f of x is equal to a times x minus h squared plus k. Let's plug in what we know. So 8 is f of x equals a times my x is negative 2 minus 1 is my h squared plus 2. So then we'll go ahead and simplify. This becomes negative 3 squared. And then when I square the negative 3, that becomes 9. Then we'll go ahead and subtract 2 to get 6 is equal to 9a. And then we'll divide by 9. And a is equal to 6 over 9, but we want to reduce that to 2/3. And so my final answer would be f of x is equal to 2/3 x minus 1 squared plus 2.